Welcome in, guys, and I am back to talk about uh, the review of the. I'm going to talk about the Detroit Lions 2025 season, and it was one of these seasons where ultimately we come off 2024 and 2023, and we did great in 23-24. 2024, like I still think that there was that missed opportunity of like winning the Super Bowl. Um, Especially in 24, we got to a championship game, and ultimately, we could have been appearing at Super Bowl with the Eagles, and it's just a missed opportunity. If we that's kind of what it was, and then we get to this season 2025. Ultimately, we knew that Ben Johnson and Ben Johnson was going to leave anyway and get a head coaching job, and the question is, were the Lions going to be contenders going into 2025 as be Super Bowl contenders? And it was. I know I said beginning of the when I said beginning of the season, oh, we're going to Super Bowl. That's me just being biased and whatever. But realistically, being the fan that I am, I was going to accept like a transitional year. Right? I was going to accept a transitional year, but just the season we had, like Aaron Glenn departs, Ben Johnson departs, which was going to happen anyway. The defense wasn't good under Aaron Glenn anyway, and Kelvin Sheppard comes in as our defensive coordinator. Then John Morton comes in as our offensive coordinator, and there was a huge drop off with John Morton coming in. He tried to run the ball like Ben Johnson and how, but it didn't work. And ultimately, midway through the season, Dan Campbell got pissed off, and he said, "I'm doing the play call for the rest of the year." And uh, John Morton was fired and moved on, which was the right decision offensively, and there was red flags in the preseason game. You go back to the Falcons game and the other preseason games that we had, there was red flags. But you look at the season, and we start off the season with the Cheeseheads at Lambeau Field, and we lost. We ultimately lost to the Packers, and Jared Goff was all over the place that game. Then you go to second game of the season here, and uh, we get a win against the Bears. We beat the Ravens on the road, which we haven't beaten the Ravens on the road since like 1977. So that was a good win. We haven't obviously beaten them overall in 20 years, but we got a road win against the Ravens. Beat the Skid Marks. We beat the Bengals. We get a good win against we beat the Bears twice, but again, the last time we beat the Bears, it had to be a late field goal. But again, we lost to the Packers twice in the season. First time the Packers beat us in the regular season since 2020. The Vikings, who had a rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, beat us twice, and even that one on Christmas Day. Don't want to talk about it. We lost to a Mike Tomlin-led 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers. The Aaron Rodgers, who had a 42-year-old quarterback at the helm, beat us at home at Ford Field. And ultimately, we had to beat the Steelers and the Vikings to get into the playoffs. We didn't beat either. And ultimately, we finished the regular season 9-8 and bottom of the division, fourth. We were fourth in the NFC. And again, that's down to the defense. Again, we should have done a lot more on the defense side of the ball. We should address the offensive line better than what we did. Draft wise, like Tyreek Williams, a defensive end from Ohio. He was decent. He was a decent-ish addition to this roster. Aiden Hutchinson was still, he was injured for a bit for this season. He was still our best defensive player. You're looking at Tate Routledge, who we got second round, and you think, okay, that's good. We're addressing again the trenches that we need. We need to look at the trenches, and Tate Routledge, he had some okay moments, I guess. Isaiah Tassel was probably one of the best out of the bunch, to be honest. Like, when we got Isaiah Tassel when he was healthy and he was playing, he was really a good game changer, and it really took it really helped because like Sam Laporta was injured. You had Amos St. Brown, who again had a productive year. Amos St. Brown had 1,000 receiving yards. Um, and then you had Jamar Gibbs, who didn't have much. Again, he had a productive year, but not as what he had the last year or two. Jamar Gibbs had still 1,000 receiving rushing yards and like 13 touchdowns. So again, he didn't have a bad year, but it was really what let us down was our defense side of the ball. Edge rusher, we need a pass rusher, and we need to focus on left guard, right guard. We need a couple of starters for 2026. We traded away a couple of additions in the draft. We signed DJ Reed, which is another big disaster at quarterback. We're fourth. We have 4,000. We have 4 million in dead cap space. So we've got to be smart with what you're working with here. We were 22nd out of 32 for points against. So again, defense was really, real bottom of the barrel here. It has to be addressed. For points for, even though we had 2 bad play call, we had Dan Campbell's play call for the rest of the year and didn't do too well. We were 4th for points. For points for, we were 4th in the division, and that's just crazy. And that's just down to like the likes of Montgomery, and when he was healthy, you had Sam Laporta and Isaiah Tesla and Jamar Gibbs. But yeah, you're looking at ultimately going into the next season. You've got to look at, especially we've got to address the defensive line. The defense, the secondary needs to be addressed. We need another pass rusher to help Aiden Hutchinson on the defense. Maybe move on from Kirby Joseph. So we do have a first round pick, 17th overall. We have a 48th pick in the second round, a third round pick, 81st overall, and then we have 4th round pick, a 5th round pick, and a 6th round pick. Oh, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and 7th round pick. Like I said, John Morton was moved on after the regular season, and we hired a new offensive coordinator, which ultimately there was rumors before that it was going to be Mike McDaniels, former head coach of the Dolphins. He was offensive coordinator with the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan for a couple of years. So that was rumored that he was going to come to the Lions. That didn't happen because Mike McDaniels went to the Chargers to work under Jim Harbaugh. And we hired Drew Pezzing. Drew Pezzing came in, who worked under Jonathan Gannon at the Cardinals. Yay, and if you looked at the Cardinals' offense last year, it stunk. So why the fuck are we hiring this guy? And can we get a question? Why the fuck are we hiring a guy whose offense in the Cardinals fucking stunk last year? I know that you're not going to get magic in the bottle again and get the Ben Johnson offense back, but come on, man. You're getting Drew Pezzing. Like, come on, you could have got like a Brian Dabo or somebody like that. Like, I wouldn't have minded a Brian Dabo for a year. But, Brian Dabo's offense in Buffalo wasn't that bad. Like, he was doing some good plays, but Drew Pezzing from the Cardinals, what I seen from the Cardinals, he wasn't really pulling up trees last year. But yeah, Kelvin Shepherd was linked with a couple of head coaching jobs as well. He didn't get a head coach job, so we're bringing back Kelvin Shepherd, guys. We got rid of John Morton because he sucked at his job. But we're keeping Kelvin Shepherd back, guys, because again, like, he didn't do any he wasn't he was doing a worse job than John Morton. But again, we're keeping Kelvin Shepherd as our defensive coordinator, guys. But yeah, we need some defensive line. We need an edge rusher. We need especially some, like, again, you could upgrade on Montgomery, upgrade on Kirby Joseph. We need to address the offensive line. We should have done it in the trade deadline, and we never did because Brad Holmes is like, don't need to do nothing here, guys. We're great. 9-8, guys. What the fuck are we doing? No, but we need some additions on the offensive line. Jared Goff stunk last year. He still got over 4,000 passing yards, which isn't bad. But he fucking stunk up the place last year. It reminded me of old Jared Goff from his time with the the Rams. And then when it came to fucking Detroit before Ben Johnson got a hold of him, it's like, no, we can get the best out of you. But yeah, this is what it was, and it was just one of those seasons. I feel like was an absolute a wasted season, and I'm hoping, especially in the off season, we actually address the additions that we need, because ultimately there was a chance in 2024 that we could have been Super Bowl champions, and we didn't. We could have got to a Super Bowl. I mean, appear at one. I've never seen the Lions. We've never ever been to a Super Bowl ever in franchise history. It would have been nice to actually see us not just appear at one. Just appear at one Super Bowl in my lifetime. But anyway, leave your guys' thoughts in the comments.